Hey everyone! So, if you're building a startup, you know that every single penny counts, right? But you also know that in this day and age, security is just, it's not optional. So, how do you build a really solid security foundation when you don't have a massive budget? Well, let's get into it because the open source community has some seriously amazing answers.
I mean, this is the classic startup dilemma, isn't it? You've got to protect your data, your customers, your reputation, but you also have to stretch that dollar to actually grow the business. It can feel like you're caught between a rock and a hard place. But here's the good news. It's not an impossible choice. You can actually build a pretty tough defense using powerful and totally free tools. And that's what we're going to walk through today. All right, so we've put this together like a blueprint. We'll start with that startup dilemma. Then we'll start building our defense with your defensive perimeter. After that, we need to see what's going on inside, so we'll be gaining internal visibility. Then, it's all about mastering your response. And finally, we'll tie it all together, moving from tools to strategy.
Okay, first things first, your defensive perimeter. The best way to think about this is like the walls and the main gate of your digital castle. The whole goal here is to stop threats before they can even get a toehold in your systems. It is your absolute first line of defense.
So what exactly are we talking about protecting here? Basically, anything that faces the public internet. We're talking your servers, your website, your email systems, you name it. These are by far the most common ways attackers try to get in, and the tools we're about to look at are designed specifically to lock them down.
Now check this out. What's so cool here is how these four tools create a layered defense. You've got ClamAV, that's your classic antivirus, scanning for malware. Then there's Fail to Ban, which is kind of like an automated bouncer at the front door, blocking anyone trying to guess your passwords over and over. Let's Encrypt. This one's huge. It gives you that little padlock in the browser, encrypting traffic for free. And Mozilla Observatory is like a free consultant that checks your web server settings and tells you how to make them stronger. Seriously, if you do just one thing from this section, make it Let's Encrypt. It's the biggest, fastest win for building trust and security.
Okay, so having a strong wall is great, but what if something somehow gets through? Or what if a threat doesn't come from the outside at all? That is where visibility comes in. You absolutely need eyes and ears inside your network.
So this part is all about detection. It's about being able to see what's happening on your servers and your cloud stuff, even inside your code, and looking for any signs of trouble. You can't fix a problem if you don't even know it's there, right? These tools are all about shining a spotlight into every single corner of your setup. Think of these tools as your internal security team. Wazoo is like your command center. It pulls in all the security alerts from everywhere into one spot. OzQuery is really cool. It lets you ask your computers questions, like, hey, are there any programs running that I don't recognize? Trivy is a must-have if you're using Docker containers. And Snort is like a security camera for your network traffic, watching for attack patterns in real time. Now for the biggest bang for your buck here, start with OpenVOS. It scans your network and spits out a to-do list of your biggest security holes. It's the fastest way to find and patch your most critical weaknesses. All right, so your defenses are up, your monitoring systems are humming along, and then an alert comes in. Now what? Honestly, this is where so many companies drop the ball. Having alerts is one thing, but having a plan is something else entirely. This is about building your incident command center. And this is the whole point, really. A fast, organized response can contain a threat and keep the damage to a minimum. But a chaotic, everybody run around kind of response, that's how a tiny little problem spirals out of control into a full-blown crisis. You need a system to manage the chaos and make sure nothing gets missed. And that's exactly where this tool comes in. The Hive is built for one thing: incident response. So when an alert pops up from Wazoo or Snort, you create a case in the Hive. It lets your team work together, track clues, assign tasks. You can see the whole investigation in one place. It's the tool that brings calm and order to the chaos of a security incident. So we've looked at this awesome arsenal of 10 different tools, but just installing them isn't going to cut it. You know, an arsenal is pretty useless if you don't have a strategy. So now let's talk about how to turn this collection of software into a real, functioning security program. This is where the magic happens, and it's simpler than you might think. First, make these tools talk to each other. For example, you can have your OpenVAS scan automatically create a to-do item in the Hive. Simple. Second, someone has to own this. Put a name on it. Assign one person to be in charge of monitoring and keeping things up to date. And third, create simple playbooks. Just write down, when this critical alert happens, we do these 3 things. A clear process is everything. And this is the question every successful startup eventually has to ask. As you grow, your tech gets more complicated, and managing this whole suite of tools, even when they're integrated, can easily become a full-time job. So, what's the next move? So, as you start to scale up, you've basically got two paths. On the one hand, you can keep managing it all yourself, which can get overwhelming really fast. Or, on the other hand, you can think about partnering with what's called a virtual CISO or a vCISO. Just think of a vCISO as a part-time expert security leader for your team. There's someone who can give you strategic advice, help you make sense of all the alerts, and make sure your security grows right along with your business.
You know, this quote really gets to the heart of it. Building out your security, whether you're using free tools or paid services, it's not a cost, it's an investment. It's an investment in trust, in your ability to bounce back from problems, and really in the long-term health of your company. It's all about protecting the value you're working so hard to create. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. First, you do not need a giant budget to get started. Open source gives you a super powerful foundation. Second, think in layers: defense, visibility, and response. Third, and this is crucial, remember that tools are not a strategy. You have to integrate them and build processes around them. And finally, don't try to do everything at once. Just start small. Pick the one tool that solves your biggest headache right now. And that really brings us to the final question. And this one is for you to think about. When you look at your startup, what's your biggest risk? Are you going to start by hardening that perimeter? Or do you need to get more visibility inside your network? Or maybe it's time to set up that incident response plan. Whatever it is, the most important step is just to start.